All right, so today we're diving into the future, really, specifically the future of mobile tech in India. We're talking 6G. You know, and you sent us this article from FinShots. Is India 6G ready? And honestly, it's a question we've been asking ourselves too. Like, is anyone really ready for what 6G is supposed to be?
It really makes you think, yeah. And I like how this article, it kind of brings together these different ideas, right? You've got Elon Musk out there with his driverless cars and robots, all this futuristic stuff. And then on the other side, you have India setting this goal of getting 10% of all the global patents for 6G.
Whoa, okay, so you just blew my mind a little bit connecting those two things like that. I'll admit, I get so caught up in the cool gadgets themselves, I don't even think about the stuff you need to even make them work, you know? So break it down for me. Why are these patents so important for India if they want to be a tech leader?
Okay, so imagine you have the blueprint, the only blueprint for some revolutionary new invention. That's kind of what a patent is, right? So if India gets 10% of the patents for 6G, they get to decide, or at least help decide, how it works, how it's built, who even gets to use it.
Oh, I see. So it's about control.
Exactly. Yeah. It means they could make a lot of money, sure, from licensing fees and all that, which would be huge for their tech industry. But it's bigger than money. It's about having power, influence on a global scale, on this technology of the future, having a seat at the table when the big decisions are being made.
Right. It's not just about downloading movies super fast anymore, huh?
No, not at all. Think of it like this. If 5G is a motorcycle, 6G is like a fighter jet or something. Like, it's not just a little upgrade. We're talking transforming how we live and work entirely. This article mentions remote-controlled factories, holographic calls, like stuff that seems impossible right now.
Whoa, okay, that analogy definitely paints a picture. And it sounds like India is taking this seriously from what you're saying. Tell me more about this Bharat 6G Alliance thing the article mentions. What's the plan?
So the Bharat 6G Alliance, it's basically a huge team effort. It's government agencies, research labs, private companies all working together. And they're putting their money where your mouth is. I mean, the article mentions a commitment of 10,000 crores. It's a 9-year plan, though, so this is long-term. We're talking everything from basic research to actually making 6G equipment to getting it tested in the real world. It's ambitious.
Okay, so that's the dream, to be a big player in the 6G world. But, and the article gets into this too, what about the challenges? Like, we're talking about fighter jets of technology. Don't you need a whole different kind of runway for that? What kind of infrastructure even are we talking about for this stuff?
You're spot on. Yeah, the infrastructure, it's a whole other ball game. Imagine like if 5G needs highways, right, crisscrossing everywhere, 6G needs like those sky tubes, those vacuum tunnels, everything's instant connected. It's a huge jump.
So we're talking way more of those cell towers you see everywhere.
Way more, yeah, but also way better. Like those are just the tip of the iceberg, you know?
Yeah.
You need a massive upgrade in fiber optic cables, satellites.
Yeah.
It all has to be faster, more powerful, everything.
The article kept mentioning these BTSs. What are those again?
Right, BTS. So it stands for Base Transceiver Station. Basically, it's like the brains of the cell tower.
Okay.
Handles all the signals between your phone, the network, everything.
Okay, right. And how many of those do we need for this whole 6G thing to even work?
Well, right now, India has about 4.5 lakh 5G BTSs up and running.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to hit 29 lakh for nationwide coverage. That's just 5G, 6G.
Yeah.
It's going to be exponentially more than that and way more complex.
So more BTSs, better tech. This is getting expensive, I'm guessing.
Oh, absolutely. There's no way around it. It's a massive investment, which brings us to another challenge, research and development. You got to stay ahead of the game, right? And while India is putting money into 6G research, that 10,000 crores we talked about, it's kind of small compared to the big players.
Okay, yeah. Give me some context here. How much are other countries putting in?
All right, so Japan, the U.S., they're each investing about 38,000 crores. Already way more, right? But then you got China, Huawei, just one company, they're dropping something like $22 billion a year.
Whoa, hold on. How much is that in crores?
Let me see, roughly 176,000 crores just for 6G research, one company. So yeah, India's got some catching up to do.
Wow, okay. You're not kidding about that competition. So money's a big deal, obviously, but the article also mentioned this skills gap. What's that all about?
This is huge, yeah. India, they've got tons of smart people graduating, tons of engineers every year. But get this, almost half of them, like 48%, can't find jobs in their field.
Wow, seriously?
Seriously, which tells you there's a disconnect, right? The skills they're learning in school, they don't match what companies actually need for the 6G stuff.
So it's not just about having the brains, it's about having the right kind of brains for the job.
Exactly. And that means India has to invest in training Like, seriously upskill their workforce. They need people who can design this stuff, build it, maintain it, and that's a whole other challenge on top of everything else.
Okay, so we've got the cost of all this equipment, the research race, now the skills gap. It's feeling like a lot. And it gets even more complicated, right, when you remember the environmental impact of all this. Like, India wants to go carbon neutral, but this 6G stuff, it needs a ton of energy. How do you even balance those two things?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
The article, it doesn't give you easy answers there, but it's definitely something to think about. India has to figure out how to make 6G both powerful and sustainable. And that's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, makes you wonder if it's even possible. But hey, on a brighter note, didn't India do really well with their 5G rollout? Could that give them an advantage with 6G?
Yeah, they did. It was impressive, actually. They got like 400,000 5G stations up and running in just over a year, 15 months. That's moving. And it shows they can get things done when they really put their minds to it.
Okay, so that's got to count for something, right? They've got the experience now, the ambition, but where do they actually stand, like right now, compared to these other countries, the big players in 6G?
Well, the article's honest about that. It's not sugarcoating it. India is making progress on those 6G patents we talked about, but there's a long way to go still. Right now, China has about 40% of all the 6G patents out there. India has about 1.5%.
Okay, yeah, that's still a big difference.
It is, and it's not just the numbers either, right? It's about influence. China's in the driver's seat when it comes to setting the standards for 6G globally, so they're shaping how this whole thing plays out. India's involved, sure, but they need to step it up if they want a real say in the matter.
So it's a bit of a David and Goliath situation then, but maybe India's got some tricks up their sleeve.
Here's where it gets interesting. They do have some advantages. For one, their private sector is really stepping up. We're talking companies like Airtel and Jio. They're putting serious money into 6G research and building things out. And then there's Adani. They're newer to telecoms, but they're coming in hot. Lots of capital, new ideas. That kind of competition can shake things up in a good way.
So it's not just the government trying to do it all alone?
Nope, not at all. These public-private partnerships, that's going to be key for India. The article even mentioned they're working with other countries, international experts, which makes a lot of sense. 6G isn't just about one country winning, it's global. Working together is the only way to make it work, really.
This has been fascinating, really eye-opening. We've covered so much what 6G can do, the challenges, the reasons to be hopeful. As we wrap up here, what are the key takeaways for our listener who's been with us this whole time? What should they be thinking about?
More than anything, I hope they come away from this excited. 6G, it's not just an upgrade, it's a whole different world, and it could be amazing. Imagine healthcare, education, all that, accessible to everyone no matter where they are. Cities that are smarter, industries that are more efficient. That's the promise here.
It does sound pretty incredible, but you're right. We can't just think about the cool stuff and ignore the challenges, right?
Exactly. 6G is still in its early stages, and there's a lot to figure out, like we were talking about, the cost of it all, the need for people with the right skills, making sure it's sustainable, and of course, cybersecurity is huge with anything that's connected.
So, final thought for our listener. What should they be keeping in mind as they see how this all unfolds with India and 6G?
I'd say stay curious, stay informed. Don't just take our word for it. This is something that's going to impact all of us. So read articles like that, FinShots One, follow the news, and think critically about it all. What kind of future do we want 6G to create?
Love that. Stay curious, stay informed. This deep dive definitely got me thinking, and I'm really interested to see how India's 6G journey goes from here. A huge thank you to our expert for breaking it all down for us.
Happy to be you.
And to our listener, as always, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic, but until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.